Hello, it's Mark from Cars and Cameras, and today we're going to take a look at the Sigma FP. Yes, I've been really excited about this camera as soon as it was introduced several months ago, and was really excited to pick one up and really put it through its paces. So I have a very quick unboxing here, and then we're going to get to the camera and check it out and look at some test footage and talk all about it. And what's one of the really nice accessories that it comes with is this mounting adapter that allows you to attach your HDMI cables and your audio cables and not worry about damaging the port. It does come with a charger. It's not a separate charger. It does charge USB-C. Comes with these little anchors if you're going to put that strap on. And it does come with a 1200 milliamp battery, and I was really surprised how long that battery actually lasted in the camera. Talk more about that in a minute. And here's the camera, guys, and this camera is really tiny, I have to say. But remember, this is not really a consumer device. This is a professional cinema camera, professional tool. It's really amazing what this camera can do. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, about its professional bit rates, and really what this camera can do. It's really quite amazing. It really is if you're looking for something that's, like a professional, cinema camera, but also a camera that can shoot stills, this is it. It's really kind of cool what it can do. And one of the things that I was trying to figure out when I got it, I didn't want to get it with its kit lens. I wanted to get it with a stabilized lens. So that's going to be coming up in a minute here. So what I chose is, this is the Panasonic Lumix 24-105 full frame lens, because it is a full frame sensor on this camera. Yes, it is full frame. It's not cropped. And that's another one of the pluses about it, because you do have that larger sensor. And it allows you to take footage like this. Now, this is in the teal and orange profile, and this is 8-bit recording. Remember, this camera can go all the way up to 12-bit recording, which is really amazing. But this is 8-bit recording, just like any other Sony camera would shoot internally and to the SD card. But the difference is this is the lowest bit rate that the camera will record at. That recording there was. And the quality is really fantastic. Now, if you jump up to the next higher quality, this camera will shoot at 440 megabits per second in 8-bit, and that's all internal. And that's what you're going to see here in this first video. That's pretty much what I was concentrating on. I wanted to see how well the camera would do, just kind of stripped down all by itself. And we'll go to the formats here. So you got MOV or Cinema DNG. It will do Cinema DNG in 8-bit internally. But for all this recording, first I did the MOV, all AI at 8-bit. Now, you can get an external recorder for this camera, like the Samsung T5. It's not too expensive. And if you use that, you can record at 10 and 12 bits. Now, something to keep in mind, like a Sony camera, like a Sony, any of the Sony cameras, like the A7 III, they only record at 8-bit. So it's really amazing that with this camera, you can record at 10 and 12, because that's going to give you really, really nice options and really high bit rates. And I was really surprised that I was able to get about 2 hours out of this battery. It was really surprising. That's really amazing in itself. And I was really excited that I was able to do that. So I really thought it was going to be a lot less, or something similar to like the Blackmagic camera. But to my surprise, no. The battery actually lasted quite a long time. Now let's go ahead and look at turn it on, look at the picture profiles. Now when you turn it on, you can see it boots up really quick. And you can see here, you got the standard picture profile. You got vivid, neutral, portrait, and the teal and orange, which is one of my favorite profiles with the camera. It gives you that really nice kind of vintage film look. I wouldn't even say vintage. It just gives you a really nice filmic look. You can see here, it looks great. I mean, it looks like Kodak film stock. And this is straight out of the camera. Set it basically with that teal and orange set at 0. And I think it looks really great. It's really nice to do that if you're really not into grading and you just want to just go out and shoot. You can do it. Also, the camera performed really well. Unlike the same thing I would use like a Sony and other camera, I just put it in shutter priority. It makes it quick to get an exposure. And pretty much the exposures were pretty right on with the camera. It worked really well. I wish there was an exposure compensation. I think it's something they can do in like a firmware update, but I didn't find that on the wheel when it was in the cinema mode. You can do it when you're in still mode, just so you can kind of adjust the fine tune the exposure a little bit. But I'm sure they're going to do that in a firmware upgrade. It's really not a deal breaker even right now. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to see how it worked in low light. So here is a shot. Now this is 40,000 ISO. Yes, 40,000 ISO. Shooting with that Sigma 24-105. It's the only lens I have for the camera at the moment. But if you shot with even a faster lens, if you're doing something like this, you can see it's really great results. And I didn't do anything to them. It's just straight out of the camera just to see how it would perform. And it works really well. I'm just amazed how it looks at 40,000 ISO, and you can push it even more. And the same thing in the image of the cat here. There was almost no light on him, and you can see it looks really good. And it has a really nice, the kind of the little bit of grain you do see. It has a nice film grain to it. Now, if you're looking at this obviously on YouTube, it's going to be very low compression, even though it is 4K. It's very low compression. You're not going to see the true image, but it just looks beautiful. It really does. So I'm just really amazed. Another thing, it's really nice that they don't give you a lot of accessories, but they do give you this adapter. I think they kind of had to throw it in because it does have a hot shoe on it if you're going to do still photography with a flash. But the really cool thing about this is when you attach it, it makes it a little easier to hold this camera because it is small, especially with this big lens on it. And it also allows you to plug in your audio and HDMI cable and hold it securely without damaging the port. Now, one of the downsides to having this adapter on the camera, it's really hard to, like if you want to charge the camera with the battery in it, it's really hard to get to that port. You have to take it off. It's possible to use it, but you really have to pull back those covers, so it makes it kind of difficult to do. So we're going to go ahead and look at some video now. This is going to be in the standard picture profile, shot at the lowest bit rate. So let's go ahead and look at the video, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, so let's talk about things that I like about the camera and things that I don't like about the camera and things that the camera can and cannot do. Okay, one thing the camera can do is it can shoot in Super 35 mode, and that's what this is, and I'm going to go ahead and freeze frame it so we can talk about it for a minute. So it will shoot in Super 35, and when you have the 24-105, I was at 105, but now I'm at a 1.5 crop tighter, and you can see the image looks really clean and smooth. I mean, it's really amazing what it can do. So, if you need more reach with your lens, you can go ahead and shoot it in that crop mode. And that was something that I kind of found out by accident. And I'm really excited that it's able to do that. It's really nice that you're able to do that with this camera. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about things that I don't like about the camera. Some of the things that I don't like about the camera is if you're thinking about using this camera for autofocus, you can forget it. The autofocus on the camera, at least in movie mode, is horrible. It's contrast based, and I'm sure they'll improve it with firmware updates. But right now, there's been one firmware upgrade where they've upgraded a couple of things, and I would say absolutely not. Now, for me, this is a professional cinema camera, and that doesn't bother me in the least bit. I think it's perfectly fine because it has all the manually focusing aids that you would want to use on the camera. You can magnify the image. There's several ways to other focusing aids that you can use, and it works really well. When I first started shooting this video at the auto show, I did use the autofocus a little bit, and then I found it started to hunt, and I turned it off, and I didn't use it anymore. And I really thought that it's useless. Now let's talk about exposure. Pretty much everything you see here, the camera was doing its auto exposure. I was keeping everything at a 180-degree shutter. That's 1/48th of a second. And it did really well. And but I will show you some shots when I went in the Galpin collection. And there was, I think, a show car, and the exposure was a little hot on it. One thing the camera does not have, it does have the ability in stills mode. They need in a firmware upgrade, I'm sure they're going to do this, and I'm going to send an email to them and suggest it, that you can, plus and minus your exposure so you can dial it in. Like this one here, it's just slightly a little bit hot. That's too hot. It needs to be dialed down a little bit. And this one definitely, if you see the motor there, it's way too overexposed. Same thing with this one. It just depends on the light, that it's getting. So, I mean, it's not too bad, and I could bring it down a little bit, but, I like to nail the exposure just right on. But other than the focus and the exposure and just like these little things, which I'm sure they're going to fix in firmware updates, I think this camera is just really great. And some people say it's the A7 III sensor. It doesn't have the aliasing filter on it. It could very well be. There's almost no rolling shutter. I mean, this is kind of a dream camera. It's really tiny. I mean, it's really amazing. It's kind of a new territory for me because you have to use these new Panasonic full frame lenses from their, I guess the Panasonic goes of the SL line. Now here's another shot. This is in crop mode in Super 35, and you can see it cuts together really well. So guys, there's my kind of first look at this camera and kind of what it can do. I'll probably pick up another couple lenses for it just to see what it can do. I buy all these cameras. Nobody sends me anything. For me, I just want to see what it can do. And, I think this is a camera I'm going to keep around for a while because it kind of excites me because I like, all of its features and what it can do. It's kind of exciting. And there's not really a lot of talk about it. There's a few people talking about it. And the cool thing is it does stills. With the Blackmagic Pocket, you can't do stills, but this can. So guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video, and there'll be a lot more videos coming up soon. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.